Hi everyone! With this video series, I'll be interviewing travelers from all around the world who have improved their mental health through physical training. My goal is to let people know that mental health doesn't necessarily mean mental illness, and taking care of your mental health is as important as taking care of your physical health. Today's guest is Sarah. Sarah is going to share her story, how getting into long distance running helped her get out of her head. Out of her head while all those negative stories were being created. Are you ready? Let's begin.
This morning we're going to warm up. We're going to do 3 times around the track, but each lap we're going to go do some stairs up and down 2 times, so 3 sets of that. And then we're going to do 10 exercises, all body weight, full body, and we're going to finish with a 10-minute core finisher.
Yeah, let's do this! Another round.
One more round. Activity complete.
Hi everyone, I am Susie Ann, and today I am sitting here with Sarah. She's a coach, and we are going to talk about mental health and physical health. So tell me more about yourself. What do you do and who you are?
Yeah, so I'm Sarah Rose. I'm the founder of Happy Pursuits. I help entrepreneurs become their own best testimonial, their own product of their product, and scale to profitability. So I love working with my clients on really embodying their work, stepping into that, and getting to the place where they have a business that is actually a business and is allowing them to make a living from what they're doing. And in setting in place those foundations, we're able to scale to wherever they want to be business-wise.
Perfect. So let the conversation begin. Your workout was pretty intense. I had no idea. And you mentioned you did that last night. Tell me, where did you get the inspiration to put this workout together?
I've always had fun putting together workouts because back home in Montreal, I have a couple friends that I like to train with, and they always kind of ask me, okay, like put together a routine and we'll do something. So over the years, I've just had fun, you know, getting inspired by people who put together programs online, share things on Instagram, that sort of thing. And then kind of I've started to understand a bit of a flow of what's going to feel good in a workout. So, yeah.
Nice. You mentioned that you put those routines together for your friends. You also then do the workout together with your friends like we did this morning?
Yeah, I feel like I have a lot of an easier time doing weight stuff with other people. It just allows me to push that much harder. When I'm on my own, I notice that I will not necessarily put the same intensity behind what I'm doing. I mean, that's different when I'm doing more like cardio, because that's kind of my jam. Like I love Peloton, and I love when I got into fitness at first, I got into long distance running, so marathon distance, and I'll go hard when it comes to my running and endurance stuff. But somehow with like weightlifting stuff, I just love the atmosphere of being in a group around other people, or at least with like one other person to push harder.
I totally feel the same thing because usually the workout we did, this is something I don't usually do. For me, it's the other way around. I lift weights alone. It's okay. Of course, I prefer with other people. But your type of workout, I'm like, that's the only type of workout I would be willing to do with another person. And I felt so motivated because we're like, yeah, next exercise this. I'm like, yeah. And then the music, doing exercises into the beat of the music, that was just amazing. I love this. I'm like, yeah, I can do a workout like this. And then we were so tired afterwards.
I love your attitude when you're working out. And I think that's why it's so important to recognize working on your mental strength as well. How you speak to yourself when you work out really matters.
Absolutely.
And like the way that your workout partners speak to themselves really matters as well. And it's not to say like, I think sometimes you're gonna like kind of complain about things, but it's the way that you go about it as well. Like when someone's like, oh my gosh, but like they're laughing and they're you know, it almost makes you want to dig deeper from that place. But then there's like, you know, when people are checking out the workout too, you want to make sure that you're playing off the dynamic of the other person. Yeah, for sure. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's you mentioned mental health, and I totally agree. For example, when we had this moment, we had the first round was done, and I thought, you know, we're done and we're gonna move on with the core exercises. But you said second round as well. My first thought was, oh, but second thought, no, we're so gonna do it, because have we given up? That means that we would give up also next time, and then we're just gonna find excuses, and then why work out at all? But we're both like accountable for each other, like, yeah, we're gonna do it, we're both gonna go just through the workout.
One of the things I realized when I was running long distance is like how much the mental game matters for that, because, you know, whether I would set out on a 7K run or a 24K run, like you start to fatigue when you start to think that you're close to the end a lot of the time, you know? So what your expectations are going into the workout really do affect how your body responds. And I think that's why, right, we finish the first round, then your body's like, okay, relief. But if you knew there was another round or even another round after that, the energy that you can bring forward into the workout is often really different.
Yeah, train your mind and your body will follow, and vice versa. But when you prepared yourself for those long distance runs, what was more difficult for you, train your body or train your mind?
I think it was, I don't know that it was like necessarily hard. It was like there was a synergy that would just happen. Like some days it is more mental and some days it's more physical. And one of the beauties of like running for so long is like you really do get out of your head and into your body. Like I think initially people who are newer to the sport, and running's one of those sports that a lot of people are like, you either love it or you really don't like it at all. And I think for the people who experience resistance to it a lot of the time, it's because, yeah, when you're getting used to the sport at first, there's a lot of, you're more in your head. But when you land in that place where you learn how to get into your body when you're running, it's just a whole other experience.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'm one of those who doesn't like running at all. But then at some point it changed. It changed 180 and I just started running almost every day. And I joined it. It was so weird, but I think now it goes like on and off. Some days it's like easy, I'm gonna run, but other days I'm just dragging my feet and it just doesn't work. Do you have days like that?
Yeah, I think it goes for anyone. Like whatever sport that you're doing, you have life happening in the background, or you had your training from yesterday. So depending on all of the different components of how you nourish yourself, which is not just, what you put into your body as like food or movement, but how you nourish yourself, like in terms of getting rid of that backlog of stress, or how you're nourishing yourself socially in your life. All of the different facets of your life affect the way that you show up on a day-to-day basis, and you're going to see that in your workouts.
Yeah. So, do you use workouts to relieve your stress? Or what kind of workouts do you do? Do you go running, or do the workout we did this morning, or what do you do?
I go through like different periods where I really like to listen to my body, but one of the things that I find very like helpful is to reflect on like what aspect of my mental health do I want to be training like in conjunction with the sport that I choose. So I find that like whether you're working on mental strength or mental flexibility or mental endurance, different sports tap into those mental capacities as well. Because that was something for me when I got into marathon running. It was like how to endure, how to like push through walls in life, like your perceived limitations. So working on that sport allowed me to break through in other areas of my life in that way. So I've always kind of looked for, even if initially the sport might not be something I gravitate towards, I'm like, will it help? Like, will getting into this sport potentially help me develop something in terms of my mindset that can carry over into whatever I need in my life? And if that's stress relief, like more like yoga and more like adaptability, then I've gravitated towards that. If I feel like I need, a little bit of strength or like, those bursts of intensity, I'm also going to go look for that in different sports.
Nice. And then where do you get your inspiration? Do you, again, find inspiration on YouTube, internet, and make yourself workout routines? Or where do you find this inspiration, when you have found out which type of exercise you need, and then how to make a routine?
Yeah, I love finding stuff online and all of that, but probably one of the best places to just like go out and try different things. And I love meeting new people. So when I meet people like you, or I just have a lot of friends who are, personal trainers or yoga teachers, and going and trying different classes, or just when I travel, going, checking out the spin studio or this or that yoga studio or different events is great exposure.
Yeah, definitely. It's like you put yourself out there, or you put the question out in the world, and then it will find you. Because if you're just gonna sit at home and be stressed and think like, when is the workout gonna come to me? It's like never gonna come. Just have to basically leave your house and then find the workout basically. How much stress do you have right now in your life?
I feel like there's something about being in Playa that has just kind of massaged the stress out of my being. I feel very calm here, feel very grounded, and there has been some like a lot of aspects of how I have sought to grow my business, really it being from a very intentional energy instead of a hustly or like trying to force something to happen energy. Here things have been flowing a lot more, and I know it's because the environment, but also just the deep intention to not operate my business from like a limbic hijacking of stress and go and hustle. Like I want to create more but working less, you know, so I've been good about following through on that.
Yeah, this is so interesting. I've been thinking the same thing because at home in Estonia, where I was working, I had very good conditions. As we were saying, we both had stand-up desks at our home and working from home from a quiet environment. But I feel the same. I wasn't. It was just go, and I didn't produce that many videos, or my mind was like closed. But here I just feel so much more inspired, and I don't know what it is. Is it the climate? Is it the people? Is it the uncertainty that surrounds us, and we're trying to find certainty, this one thing that we have, which is work or creativity, or I don't know. What do you think it could be?
Well, I think back home you fall into your comfort, and sometimes when you're comfortable it gets uncomfortable because you spend that time relaxing, actually like thinking about work and all of that. But when you're in an environment like here, and I think it's possible to replicate that back home, but it's sometimes you just don't even notice yourself kind of falling into that place. But you know, because there are so many adventures, right, because we're close to the ocean or things like that, I know I'm very deliberate on my weekends or when I'm done my day to go do something, like go put myself in an environment where I'm living my life, and I'm not like that time I'm not in the background of my mind actually working on work. I'm in the moment, and that makes me so much more productive when I re-engage with my work, because it's from a clean slate, it's from a spacious mind, and I'm able to be more tapped in and creative.
Yeah, you're right. I think that's it, because also here when I go out and explore this nature, I am being present. And I think here it's more about being present, and then exactly the re-engaging. Yeah, I think you're totally right. Perfect. And also going to nature, is this something you use to manage your stress, and getting nature is something that you enjoy?
Yeah, I've just grown up, that was something that my family prioritized, like going hiking, like long hikes. Like we would go full days, like 8-hour, 10-hour hikes and travel different places to do that. But yeah, I was out of shape for most of my life though, up until around 18, and when I got into long distance running, and then that kind of exposed me to being out in nature a lot more, looking for paths, like instead of, you know, running through busy city streets and having to stop at red lights, I started to look for environments where I could just go without needing to stop, and more like dirt paths and things like that. So, and there was just sometimes when you're like in nature and you're running and you're breathing with the air, like there's like just the synchronicity with your environment where, you know, in psychology we talk about like being in a state of flow. When you tap into those moments, there's almost like this sense of you're so connected to the world, and yet like there's a sense of like solitude, like you feel like you're like the only one on earth, and it's such a powerful feeling. I love those moments in nature where you're so connected, so tapped in, but also like from within.
Amazing. I love that. But tell me, what's your journey to mental health, or when did you start thinking more about it, or paying attention, and maybe bringing together physical and mental health?
Yeah, so growing up, I I struggled from probably the age of 5 with like severe mental health issues because of childhood trauma and a lot of things that I went through that kind of over the years bubbled up in the form of chronic depression, of like self-harm and suicidal ideation, probably from as young as just over the age of 10, and eventually also binge eating disorder. So when I was 18, I ended up in the hospital for that, and it was a situation where I was hospitalized on the day of my 17th birthday, but I woke up in the hospital at 18 years old, and I was hospitalized at a children's hospital. So my case kind of fell through the cracks at that time, and I was discharged without proper follow-up. So my case kind of fell through the cracks, and I was confronted with just, I'd scared myself in that instance, but with this choice, like, of really realizing, like, we don't choose to be born really, but we do get to choose how we engage with our lives. And so in that moment, I just had a serious heart-to-heart with myself, and I said, you're going to make a choice right now. Like, you can choose to end your life, and this time you're going to make it very final, or you're going to choose to live your life, but like not like kind of sort of like live your life. Like, you're going to live your life all out, and you're going to figure out what that means. And whatever you decide in this moment, no matter what happens to you in life, you're never going to come back on this decision. You're going to live on purpose or not at all. And so I chose to live on purpose. And one of the first things when I asked myself what I needed to heal, what I needed to live, it wasn't mental. Like, it was like my body that answered, like, you need to move. And so, looking back, it makes so much sense, because like emotion is energy. It gets trapped into the body. Like, most of our subconscious is stored in the body. When you're driving a car, that reflexive energy, if a car moves towards you, it's because it's in your body. And so getting into long distance running really helped me get out of my head, because it's so much in your head, where a lot of these stories that you're spinning around your existence that color your perception of everything exists. So it helped me a lot to like really kind of work through physically some of the stuff that was going on in my body. And then when I, from that space, was able to re-engage with what was going on inside my mind, and started this forgiveness journey, this journey of like really understanding the impact of like, how do you also work on your mental fitness? How do you work on your mental hygiene? What does that mean? What does that look like? We understand that they're trainers for the body, but what does it look like for you to be taking yourself to the mental gym? And that's kind of been my trajectory over the years.
Amazing, beautiful story. Thanks for sharing. Wow. You mentioned mental hygiene. Tell me more about it. Do you have a routine, or what is mental hygiene for you?
So for me, I think sometimes it kind of shifts and it flows and it evolves. I have a self-coaching practice, so I have some tools that I use pretty much on a daily basis, but sometimes, to be honest, I'll flow away from that, but I'll incorporate more breath work or meditation. I have a mindfulness practice that's followed me through the years that has been super powerful, and that, whether it's through self-coaching or meditation or journaling, right? Mental hygiene takes many forms, but fundamentally what it comes down to is watching your mind, like separating your thoughts from reality. We live through life and we think like, oh, I'm just like, I'm observing the world. But a lot of the time, right, when we look at our lives and we say, oh, I'm so busy, like, I'm busy as a thought. And we're looking through these sliding glass doors, which are thoughts, and we think that's just the facts of our lives. That's just the facts of who we are. That's just the facts of the people around us, not realizing it's all interpretation. And when you learn how to watch your mind think, right, whether you think of like you know, yourself as busy, or you think of yourself as I don't know, productive or something like that, it's going to affect the way that you show up in your life. The lens of interpretation, right? It determines everything about how you show up and the results you're able to create into your life. And that has been a really powerful thing. And I think it's important for us to talk about more, because obviously when you learn what your thoughts create into your life, into the world, into your relationships, into your relationship with your body, all that, that's how you start to elevate your existence and with so much more intention.
Absolutely. Your thoughts create eventually your habits, your character, and your whole life. And just by changing the thoughts, you can change everything in your whole life, right? But tell me, do you have a routine? Do you have like morning routine or some kind of routine that calms you down or lights you up or something like that?
Yeah, so in the morning I do like to I'll usually like wake up and do this like 7-minute, depending on what I'm going through. Usually it's a 7-minute or 21-minute breathwork practice, and that kind of just helps me wake up, get a little bit more into my body, oxygenate myself, and then from there I take myself through this process that's evolved, a little bit of self-coaching. I like to write things down. I like to connect through writing some of my stuff, but I will write like I will step into possibility in a way that's very intentional. Like a lot of the times, like people don't achieve their goals because they just kind of get shuffled to the background of their mind. So every day I start my day from the energy of my goals being accomplished, and I think about who I want to be, because really the formula in life, like the reason why people struggle to develop new habits is they focus on like, oh, I just need to do something. I just need to start going to the gym. I just need to start doing. But the thing is, the formula for anything that you want to create into your life is be, do, have. So every morning I take time to intentionally think through, like, who do I want to be? Like if I want to, I don't know, what's an example? Like if I want to be somebody who
But tell me, who do you want to be?
I'm constantly growing and evolving that, but like it's not about who I want to be, it's about discovering who I already am inside of me. And I think a lot of self-improvement, the reason you're not accomplishing what you want is because you think you have to be different. You think like your future self is like almost like in a different time-space continuum, is like this perfect version that's not you, But I've been finding, I always look for, how is it true that I'm already that person? Like I don't even need to see the result of, the business that I want to create and the results of that, of how many people I want to help. Like I can already feel that inside me because I take time to step into that every day. Like the next person I'm going to help through my business, of like how strong I'm going to feel in a month from now, I can already feel inside of me, because that's that energy that drives me to show up. So just like when you have an employer who pays you and you, before you even get your paycheck, you're like, yeah, I'm making this much this month. Well, when you practice stepping into possibility like that, you're like, yeah, like I have that, because you just know and trust that you are going to show up in a way that's congruent to that, because that's just part of who you are. So my thought work, I have some questions that I answer just to really create that energy to come from that place, stepping into my day of the results that I'm after already being done.
Amazing. I've heard that a lot, that when you want something, you have to visualize that you already have that, and that kind of changes something in your mind, and maybe it makes you work towards a goal more, or I have no idea how it works in your mind, but I found that when I have written stuff down, like writing is so powerful. At first, when I first heard about it, I'm like, I can just think about it every day, but then it just stays like a thought. But when you write it down and you go over the same page all over again and you write it down that you already have that, then somehow you start working more towards it, I think. And then you finally have that. Is it how it works? Is it how it works for you too?
Yeah, which I get it, right? It kind of sounds like law of attraction, but it's more scientific than that, because the way that it works, and one of the tools that I work with in my business is something that someone named Brooke Castillo, I actually work for her organization as well. It's called the model, and essentially the way that she explains it is like there's circumstances in the world that for each of us is going to trigger different sets of thoughts, right? So there's circumstances that trigger thoughts. Those thoughts create the way that we feel. The way that we feel fuels all of the action or inaction that we're taking in our lives, and ultimately that's what determines our results. So if every day you're starting from not the energy of possibility, right, and you're thinking it's not possible really for me to reach my goal this month, or it's not possible for me to do X, Y, Z, you're gonna emotionally, the charge of that is going to cause you to show up in such a way that you're not going to create the possibility. Whether you believe you can or you believe you can't, you're going to prove yourself right. Because if you believe it's not possible, you're not going to show up and take actions to show yourself that it's possible. So that's why it's really helpful to take time to consciously look for how it is possible, look for evidence, to work through some of your perceived limitations, because they're just thoughts at the end of the day that are stopping you from believing. Like, if it's possible for someone else, why not you? And even if you're trying to accomplish something that's never been done, look at how anything has been accomplished in this world. You don't need proof, you just need to believe that you can, and you can go out and create that proof.
Yeah, you are so right. I was just listening to this podcast where a woman athlete was there. She has multiple world records in powerlifting. I think she's the first woman who did deadlift with crazy weights, and right after she had done it, suddenly all the other women were lifting the same weight. Maybe it's a mindset. They knew that the world record is maybe 400 something pounds deadlift. I think it was 500 pounds that she pulled, and then and suddenly everyone else was doing that. Or even 100-meter run.
Yeah, Roger Bannister is like the 4-minute who broke the 4-minute mile. Like, there's so many examples, and we see it so much in sports, but the same goes for any area of life, whether it's business, whatever it is that you're wanting to do. Like, in your life, you need to believe that it's possible is like the first step. And it's okay if you believe that it's impossible, because that's the first step of possibility a lot of the time. Like, the idea has to occur to you for even it to be a possibility of a result. We can work through like why we think something's impossible to get to the place where we believe that it's possible, and then eventually to the place where we believe that it's inevitable.
It's just pure gold that you're saying. I agree 100%. But how do you get your mind there? How do you get yourself into believing that you can do it?
So that's kind of where my practice comes into play, like really taking time to think about, like, we can't force feed ourselves affirmations that don't feel true. So sometimes the mind is like, it's kind of like when you watch a movie and you're willing to suspend disbelief that that's like all actors and like special effects and things like that. We get into movies, we get into stories. Well, we can do the same thing with our own mind movies by suspending disbelief and saying, like, I'm willing to consider the possibility that I'm someone who's capable of this. And then, like, how is that true? How is it true that it's possible that I'm already that person. What evidence can I find? And I'll look for that. But I'll also look for like, why don't I believe that? And I'll challenge that, and I'll help myself see that that's just a thought that I'm having. I'm like, why do I think that? Because I've created this in my business so far. It's like, yeah, but your past, what you've created so far, tells you nothing about what's possible for you to create into your future. So when you start to see the effect that your current thoughts are having onto your life, it stops making sense to believe them when you understand that they're not serving you. So I have a process to dig in and investigate and get super curious about how my current way of looking at life, my life, the world, whatever, my business, is affecting the results that I have. And when I really understand the connection, there's more space for me to accept something that's more useful to me.
Yeah, always believing the future person. Yeah, I think we just get trapped in our thoughts most of the time. I've been loving our conversation so far. Like it's our second time we're meeting, and already the first time that we met, we just clicked. I hinted you that I want to start a conversation about mental health, and I was like, I don't know how we click, because when people don't click, then you don't want to share maybe something that personal, because mental health, it is kind of personal, which it is, but it also should not be, because mental health is, it doesn't mean mental illness. It means just why are we happy, where we smell, how we just view the life, basically.
I love that you say that, because if you ask someone like, how do you define health, like be it mental health or physical health, so much of health is defined as the absence of health,
Oh yeah, it's defining something negatively.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So yeah, but we clicked immediately. We had amazing conversation, and now we're sitting here and recording this. So that's my story. What's your story?
Well, I think we both touched on that when we came together and we connected on that, because when you're traveling, when you're in a new environment, it's easy to think, oh, I'm all alone. And I am lucky that like I have a friend who moved down here at the same time as me, but at the same time you're setting new roots, right? And how do you meet new people? How do you make friends as an adult, right? And a lot of settings, sometimes they're not always that conducive to that, especially when you're in a place where it's a lot of a mix of like very vacation type people, and then also digital nomads. But how do you like parse through that? And I think you just got to be willing to put yourself out there, and same way as you would at an in-person event, right? You go up to people, you introduce yourself, you say what you do, you say like, you look for people who you want to connect with, and you ask them questions about them. And then if it flourishes into a friendship, awesome. If it doesn't, that's fine. You had an experience and all of that. But I think, yeah, that's what just inspired me to get curious about some of the channels of communication for people living in Playa, put a post out there just introducing myself, and then we're able to connect that way, which is really awesome, right?
Yeah, finding friends as an adult, it is different because you're not going to school anymore, and then seeing each other every day. You just right now you have to make time to meet new people. You have to make time to continue the relationship, and it is so much harder. You have to invest a lot more energy, a lot more time. Whereas, let's say you have a friend from childhood, you have all this foundation already, and now you just get to talk to each other maybe once a month, twice a month, because the connection is already there. But here, yeah, you have to continuously nourish the relationship, like water the plant all the time.
Yeah. And in a world that's become increasingly online, I think a lot of people are grappling with how to interact offline, and really the secret is just like you gotta act online the way that you would offline, and just be yourself and be authentic with people. And the same thing goes with offline too. You gotta learn how to slow down too and be present, not try to be your online person in person. It just doesn't work that way. It's worth it to learn how to slow down and nurture some connections, particularly when you're on that same wavelength, because at the end of the day, whatever you accomplish in life, wherever you go, what you're going to look back on are the people that you shared those moments with. That's what's going to matter when you get through life, not like how many dollars you earned in your bank account and all of that. Those things, sure, they open up a lot of things in life, but that's not life. Life is who you spend it with, so meaning yourself, what kind of a relationship you have with yourself, but also what kind of relationship you've cultivated, not just with your potential clients, but right, with all the people that you wanted, that you poured your heart into, whether those are friendships, whether that's with your family, whether that's with your clients, like all of those people. So slow down and what you appreciate on the people around you. Appreciate on yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you 100%. Yeah, people in your life, they make your life. They are the ones who you're gonna look back to, and the ones who lift you up and make you feel something. I totally agree with you.
Yeah. Oh, well, I'm so grateful that you invited me to have a chat with you and that we connected and all of that. Hopefully some people can have some fun with our workout.
Yeah. Thank you for joining. I had so much fun talking to you.
Me too. Thank you so much, girl.